Friends, and welcome to Pediatric Flow. I'm Jolene, a doctor-prepared, dual board-certified pediatric nurse practitioner, and I'm so glad you're here today. So welcome in to Pediatric Flow with Jolene. It's a place where we talk about pediatrics, nursing, leadership, advanced practice, life, and the moments that shape us both professionally and personally. So thank you for joining me today. And if you follow me on a regular basis, you know it's been just a little bit since I sat down behind this microphone. I want you to know that life has been full. It's been busy, demanding, exciting, exhausting, and sometimes a little overwhelming these past several weeks. The pediatric intensive care unit has been incredibly busy. Like so many healthcare environments, we have faced short staffing, increased demands, and a great deal of overtime the past several months. And I have spent many long nights caring for critically ill children, supporting their families during some of the most frightening and uncertain moments of their life. That work matters so deeply to me, and it is a privilege to be trusted with a child's care and to stand beside families when they are scared, when they're exhausted and searching for answers. But it's important to know that meaningful work can also be physically, mentally, and emotionally demanding on us in healthcare, especially when the hours become long and the opportunities to rest become few. But at the same time, I have been writing and developing new and upcoming products for a Pediatric Flow and preparing for upcoming speaking engagements. There are ideas I have been carrying for quite some time that are slowly beginning to take shape. I'm excited for you to hear about them in the coming months. So while it may have been a little bit quieter here at the podcast realm, the purpose and work of Pediatric Flow Media have still continued. And somewhere in the middle of caring and working, writing, creating, preparing, and navigating some significant changes in my own personal life, the days have continued to pass. And perhaps you know that feeling. You look up and suddenly that something you intended to do has been sitting untouched. Maybe it's a project, a goal, a conversation, a healthy habit, or simply something that brings you joy. Our first response is often guilt. We tell ourselves we should have done more, and we should have managed our time better. We should have stayed consistent. We should have found a way to keep every commitment moving forward, regardless of how demanding life became. But I want you to know that sometimes life, it interrupts the plan. It doesn't always follow what we think it should. Life ebbs and flows, and there is ups and downs throughout. And that's just the way it is. And not because we lose our purpose. Absolutely not. But because we are truly living, growing, serving, and building in ways that continue to shape it. There is a difference between abandoning something and allowing yourself to pause. A pause does not mean that the dream is over. A quiet season does not mean that your voice no longer matters. And stepping back for a moment does not erase everything you have already created. Sometimes a pause is simply the space we need to breathe, to recalibrate, and recognize what this season is asking of us. I think many of us, especially those of us who work in healthcare, struggle with giving ourselves that permission. We become accustomed to pushing through. Someone needs us, so we keep going. There's another shift to cover, another patient who needs care, another deadline approaching, another email waiting, and another responsibility that cannot be ignored. We become so capable of carrying heavy things that other people may not even realize how much we are holding. And sometimes, if we are honest, we do not fully realize it ourselves until our bodies, our minds, or our spirits begin asking us to slow down. And being strong does not mean that we never become tired. Being committed does not mean that we must constantly produce. And being called to meaningful work does not mean that we are required to sacrifice every single part of ourselves to prove that we care. There are seasons when moving forward looks powerful and visible. We accomplish the goal, we complete the project, we accept the opportunity, or stand on the stage. But there are also seasons when moving forward looks much quieter. It may look like getting through another demanding shift. It may look like choosing rest instead of forcing yourself to complete one more task. And it may look like caring for your family, protecting your peace, or tending to responsibilities that no one else can see. It may even look like saying, I still believe in this, but I cannot give it my full attention today. And that is not failure. That is wisdom. So one of the lessons I continue to learn is that purpose does not always operate according to our preferred timeline. We may have a carefully organized plan, but life rarely unfolds in a perfectly straight line. Absolutely not. There are unexpected demands, difficult seasons, new opportunities, and moments when we are called to redirect our energy. And I believe that sometimes God asks us to move, and then sometimes He asks us to wait. And sometimes He reminds us that even when we cannot see everything coming together, He is still working behind the scenes. There have been moments during this busy season when I have wondered how I could possibly fit everything together. I care deeply about my clinical work. I care about the children and families I serve. I care about creating resources that encourage and support others. And I care about writing, speaking, teaching, leading, and continuing to build Pediatric Flow. And each of those things hold true meaning for me. But I'm also one person, and I have limits, and I need sleep, and I need time with the people that I love, just as you do. I need moments when I am not producing, solving, leading, or caring for everyone else, just like you do. And that is something I believe we all need to remember. Our humanity is not an inconvenience standing in the way of our purpose. It is part of our purpose. Our lived experiences, the beautiful ones and the difficult ones, shape the way we connect with others. They deepen our compassion. They clarify our priorities. And they remind us why our work matters and why we must also care for the person doing that work. Well, maybe you have been navigating a season like this, and maybe your life has become so full that something important to you has been pushed to the side. If so, I want you to release the shame of the pause. You do not have to return with an apology. And you do not have to explain every single detail of what you've been carrying. And you do not have to wait until everything is perfectly organized before you begin again. You can simply come back. You can take one step. You can open the document, make the phone call, revisit the dream, and sit behind the microphone or begin wherever you are. The next step does not have to become enormous. It just needs to be meaningful. And sometimes courage looks like beginning something new. But sometimes courage looks like returning to something you still love after life has pulled you away from it. And that is what I'm doing today. I am returning to this space, not because life has suddenly become quiet or because everything on my list has been completed, but because this conversation matters so deeply to me. Pediatric Flow has never been about producing something merely to fill a schedule. It was created to share meaningful conversations, support healthcare professionals and families, encourage others, and to bring compassion, courage, and light into spaces that desperately need them. And that purpose has not changed. In fact, the experiences of this season have given me more to reflect upon, more to write about, and more that I hope to share with you in the days ahead. I'm excited about the new projects and products that are being developed for Pediatric Flow. I am grateful for the speaking opportunities that lay ahead of me, and I'm looking forward to continuing the conversations that we have started here. But I also want to move forward with intention, and not everything has to happen at once. Not every dream must be completed today, and not every season will allow us to give equally to every part of our lives. We can remain devoted to our purpose while honoring our current capacity. So if life has ever interrupted one of your plans, perhaps today is your reminder that the story is not over. The dream is still there, and the work you have already done still matters so much. And the time between where you paused and where you begin again has not been wasted. You have been learning, living, becoming, and gathering experiences that may bring greater depth to whatever comes next for you. So give yourself grace for the season you have been walking through, and recognize what you have carried. Celebrate the things you accomplished that may never appear on a resume, a calendar, or a social media page. They don't have to always land there. And when you're ready, take the next step, gently, intentionally, and without shame. It does not have to be perfect. Life never is, and it just simply has to begin. Thank you for allowing me to return to this space and for continuing to be part of Pediatric Flow community. There is so much ahead, and I'm grateful that we will continue this journey together. Remember, a pause does not erase your purpose, and sometimes it simply prepares you to return with greater clarity, deeper compassion, and renewed courage. And remember, the world needs your compassion, your courage, and your light. And as always, until next time, keep shining.